This conference will now be recorded.
So in the previous sessions, we were discussing about this Azure SQL database and Azure SQL inside the virtual machine, right? And there is another one is Azure SQL managed instance. So currently this free version, whatever the free subscription, what we are using is not supporting, the free edition is not supporting to implement this managed instance. You required a paid subscription to create this one. So what is the difference between this paid subscription, this managed instance and normal Azure SQL database?
No, Ram, you are sharing your screen. I'm not able to see.
Okay. So from tomorrow onwards, I will start with the Azure Data Factory. That is the main important topic. So once that is completed, it will take around 8 to 10 days. Once that is completed, you can start with the interviews.
Ram, unable to hear you. You're speaking something?
Even I am not able to hear you.
Sorry. I think now you can able to hear me, right?
Yes, Ram.
Okay, so what I'm trying to say, we have set up Azure SQL database. Then after we have created Azure SQL in virtual machine. Okay, Azure SQL in virtual machine. So whatever the Azure SQL in virtual machine you have installed, everything will be taken care by ourselves. Everything in the sense about the SQL maintenance, backup, restore, performance, upgrade, all those things. But when you are coming to Azure SQL database, it is running on Azure SQL database is running on a logical server. Just simply creating one simple database, and that database is going to be running on a backend logical server with the performance of DTUs, data transaction units, and vCore processor model. And we have a elastic pool concept as well. So the same way, but when you are comparing to virtual machine, Azure SQL database will not get all the features. Am I right? Azure SQL database will not get all the features. Means when you are connected to the SQL server, you can see there is so many options along with your database. But Azure SQL database, when you are creating, will get only 3 features: database, security, and integration catalog. Only these 3 things you will get. There are so many other features available under the SQL server. All those features when you will get when you are installing inside a local computer, you will get all those features. When you are installing SQL in a virtual machine, you will get all these features. Okay, so I need a simple server or database like Azure SQL database, but I need all the features. All the features means whatever the features it is supporting in your local computer and a virtual machine, all those things I required, but it looks like Azure SQL database. That is Azure SQL managed instance. So if you want to create Azure SQL managed instance, you will get all the features whatever you have in the virtual machine, but it is a logical server. You don't need to worry about the maintenance and all those things. Your Microsoft will take care of the maintenance and everything. So when this is preferable? So this is preferable when you are going to move your on-premises application. Already there is one SQL Server database is running from your app to this data will come to this SQL Server. In that kind of situations, if you want to move this to cloud environment, okay, if you want to move this to cloud environment, you can use this one. So managed instance you can use, and you can migrate existing applications. For migrating existing on-prem applications, cloud, this is more suitable. And when this Azure SQL database is suitable, creating new application to, okay, creating a new application and need a simple database service then refer this Azure SQL database. When this SQL in virtual machine is preferred, whenever a database service is required, with full control, whenever a database service is required, with the full control, with full control of infrastructure. Okay, and another advantage of this one is any kind of version, any kind of edition can be installed. For example, I need a SQL Server 2012 version. Yes, you can able to install inside the virtual machine. But when you are coming to Azure SQL Managed Instance and Azure SQL Database, always it will install latest version and latest edition of the server. Always the latest version and latest edition of the server will be installed when you are installing Azure SQL Managed Instance as well Azure SQL Database also. And one more thing is, once you are creating Azure SQL Managed Instance, how can you connect to this SQL Managed Instance? Because the SQL Managed Instance, definitely you need to create under a particular network, virtual network. For example, this is my cloud environment. Inside this cloud environment, I'm going to create a service. I'm going to create a service, Azure SQL Managed Instance. Azure SQL Managed Instance. And this Azure SQL Managed Instance, whatever we have, when you are creating this one, it is going to create under one particular virtual network. VNet. You can give any name, like I'm going to give it as a E-classes SQL VNet. So under this particular network, this Azure SQL Managed Instance is going to run. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I want to connect to this SQL Server to see the queries and database writing queries. I'm going to create one virtual machine. Inside this virtual machine, I have a SQL Management Studio. So from this SQL Management Studio, this is a virtual machine. This is SQL Management Studio. This is virtual machine. This is SQL Management Studio. So this SQL Management Studio, through I want to connect to this Azure SQL Managed Instance SQL Server. But to connect, this network is different. And when I'm creating this virtual machine also, I'm going to create this under a different network. This has to create under a different virtual network. VNet E classes VM VNet. So this is the name I have given. So this is a different network, and this is a different network we are creating. This Azure SQL managed instance and this SQL virtual machine. How to access these two? Because SQL server is running in a different network and management studio is running in a different network. So how can we connect these two? To connect these two, you need to do a peering of the virtual networks. Peering of the virtual networks. All right. So let me show you when I'm creating a SQL managed instance and when I'm creating a virtual machine, how can we connect this? How to create two virtual networks? So simply go over here, azure.com. No. Yeah, SQL managed instance. Or else first I will create two virtual networks. Okay, VNet virtual networks. Click on that. Create. Azure Virtual Network. VNet is the fundamental building block for your private networks in the Azure. Subscription is free trial subscription. Resource group is E classes SQL VM. SQL VNet. So that is the name I'm giving. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not a resource group. Okay. E classes SQL VNet. All right. Review and create. Similarly, one more virtual network I will create, that is for the virtual machine. Sorry, virtual. Free trial version. E classes VM VNet. All right. Go back to home. So two virtual networks we created. So you need to map these two networks to your SQL managed instance, this one, and another network for this one. So how to map the virtual networks? At the time of creating the services, you can able to map. Let me SQL managed instances. Create. So free trial version, resource group E classes in it, and here you need to provide the managed instance name, but it is not allowing to create this service SQL managed instance, because to create this managed instance SQL, it required at least minimum 4 vCore processors. Sorry, 8 vCore processors. But unfortunately, Microsoft is supporting for free subscription only 4 vCore processors. Okay, same whatever. See, minimum it is required 8 vCore processors. But our Azure free subscription is giving only 4 vCore processors. That is the reason you are not able to create the service. So similarly, how you will created Azure SQL database, the same way we are also creating over here. Managed instance, and enter the username, password. Now we can go to the networking. See here. Here you need to create the virtual machine. Sorry, virtual network. So where is that? We created already, right?
Sean, your voice is not audible.
So here you need to see this virtual network name. It is going to create its own virtual network. So the existing whatever we created, that you cannot map over here. And similarly, the virtual machine also. So when you are going to create a virtual machine, create. Go to the networking. See here, The virtual network you can able to select here. Create a new one. Subscription, resource group and location must be selected. Free trial. Save network group. I'm just creating a kind of virtual machine. Central yes. Okay. Now we can go to the networking. All right, see here. So we created two virtual networks, if you remember. E classes SQL VNet, E classes VM VNet. So you need to give that one. So whichever the virtual network you want to map, E classes VM. But for Azure SQL managed instance, the drop-down list is not coming. The reason that service is not allowing. If it is a paid subscription, under the drop-down, these virtual networks will come. These virtual networks will be coming over here. So this SQL virtual machine, what we are going to create will come under this E classes VM net. All right, E classes VM net. So once you are creating these two services and mapping these two virtual networks, how can we connect these two? That is called peering of the networks, because this is a different network. This is a different network. To access the resources running under this virtual network and the services or the resources running under these virtual networks to connect, you need to peer these two. So peering in the sense like you have to go over here and I'm going to perform this VNet. Go to virtual networks. See these two. So any of one you can go. So E classes SQL VNet. I'm going over here. Just come down. Yeah, see here there is a peerings. So what you are trying to peer? Click add. Peering name you can give anything. Peering link name also you can give any name. So what is that network you are trying to peer? VMnet. So I'm trying to communicate E classes SQL VNet with E classes VM VNet. Then click add. So this is how we can able to perform these actions. So then only this managed instance can be accessed from the SQL managed instance. Clear?
Yes, Ram, I have a query here.
Yeah.
Like now, we are doing like creating a peering between the two VNets, which are in the same resource group, right? So, is there any possibility to provide the peering in different resource groups?
No. So did you get that kind of situation? I didn't mention anywhere, right? Two different resource group virtual networks will not be peering. You can able to do that one as well, right?
Okay.
So even it is a two different virtual networks, sorry, resource groups, you can able to peer, no issue.
Okay, thank you.
So guys, I'm going to move these timings from tomorrow. Either it might be 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 or 8 a.m. IST to 9 a.m. IST. So I will give you this update after this session. I will talk with the other people. I mean other batch people as well. Then we will start from tomorrow only Azure Data Factory. So this is very important subject. After this Azure Data Factory, we will discuss about Azure Databricks, Azure Synapse DW, along with the Polybase and some other topics we have. Okay, I will update you this timing. So we are preparing this Azure Data Engineering book as well, along with the interview questions. So it will get ready by a week soon. So once it is ready, then you can able to take this one. It will help you a lot for many scenarios. Yeah.
Thank you, Ram.
So we will post in the meeting, I mean our group, about the timings. Okay. Thank you.